Hey, Bublynn, coming in, crushing this. All right, we're back at it. Um, yeah, welcome. It's good to be here with you guys. I got so much thankful energy for, uh, like to give for nature, right? For everybody. So, anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about straight up. If we want to get into a topic. Rafiki, or I guess more like a guru type energy, right? And I wanted to talk about how this will come from deep understanding from nature. And so then how, when you look at someone who may have a lot of power, may have a lot of influence, or then gets to a point where they're able just to access a lot of energy, right? Like achieve heights that inspire, kind of by definition, if we're thinking about like a Rafiki character, but maybe not necessarily inspiring or so forth engaged, but always like how it would come out, always working through a situation. So, for example, right, how Rafiki in The Lion King, if you don't know, is like this monkey that always comes into the picture, and he's always like really goofy. He's always erratic, you know what I mean? He's got that really goofy smile, but he's always coming and he's always working through the story. He's always working through nature. He's always pulling strings, not necessarily, but always like kind of like pushing buttons, So yeah, kind of pulling strings, But so anyway, so if we think about where he comes up, he always comes up through the plot. You know what I mean? When a deep question or a stumping point comes up, this is where we find Rafiki. And then he then starts to shine and express himself through his wisdom, right? Potentially. So that's just an interesting little tidbit on how I think if you get to a point where you're really able to influence or have control in a way, you're going to be working through nature. You're going to be working through the plot. You're going to be working through other, you know what I mean? And so this is going to limit you. And so this is just the interesting thing, because you think if you were a kid, right, you'd be all like, man, I just want to be able to do anything I want without anybody telling me, Like, wouldn't that be amazing, It's kind of what you think. But it's almost like that's kind of going against the whole energy, Because if you just want to do anything you want, then you get the highest you can get to if you're not in relationship to people, if you're not a gift, right? And you're not trying to utilize that in relation, is like sort of leader of your own cell or leader of your own little thing. And then if you get past leading yourself, right, and you still don't want to give back, you can create like small organizations. But then it's like if you start wanting to exert your will on a higher level or through other people, which you probably will want to do if you get like really self-inflated and want to move unlimitedly, then you're going to find other people are going to want you to cut you down because you start crossing boundaries that you shouldn't have crossed. Like you started fucking with the wrong people, basically, you know what I mean? You started thinking that if I just continue in my lane, selfishly and disregard authority or something, like you just get like pissed off basically, and you're cut off in a way. Like for example with bills, right? Like in a really broad way, I don't want to get a job, right? It's like you're so selfish. I just want to do what I want to do without having to have any relationship with anybody else, But this only gets to a point where now you're always parasiting, right? If you actually want to gain anything real, you're going to be looking through other people's pockets. You're going to be looking through the store, right? And you're not going to be looking at that as a stepping stone, right? You're not going to have any sort of tell with it, right? Because now you're going to be isolating yourself from other people in that taking, mooching kind of role, and yeah, so basically now you're trying to support yourself because generally that type of person isn't going to be self-reliant, right? And then like we could talk about that too, on how that's a whole nother way of just working with what nature, just different way. So So yeah, like that person could only go so far as to relying on other people but not wanting to give back to them, right? And then that creates this sort of sociopathic energy, you know, because then this person's going to be moving in ways that it's not going to want to be expressed or seen, and if it is expressed or seen, then it's going to be painful. So that's just kind of the energy. So it's just interesting, right? So then we think about that thought we had when we were a kid, and we're like, man, I wish I could do anything I want without anybody telling me what's right or wrong, or without any restriction, right? And now we think about how that's so limiting, right? On how its very foundation is based on a way where we're not going to be able to gain exaltation, gain reliance, gain fruit, or gain any sort of produce, right? So that's just the interesting thing. So what comes out of this is it's almost like, I guess, playing your cards right, and like not getting lost into the first temptation, right? Like someone that is kind of more powerful or smarter is actually going to be more at the will of, say, the general universe, but yet is going to find a way to get more out of that than the selfish person because they were paying attention, right? So it's so interesting that through that limitation, through that restriction, you get the most liberation, you get the freest point, right? Like someone who's truly secured their niche in the world is now at their freest, even though now they're refined through whatever niche, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just think that's so interesting. And then you get to this point where you start, it's almost like first independently. So maybe we could start making this another video. But either way, so yeah, this is about Rafiki, and this is about how when you start having that like guru energy, it's almost like you can only express yourself through currents or through nature, and you can really only see exaltation or true achievement or purpose in like surfing, like that wave of nature, that certain influence that you're working with, and creating a sort of synergistic energy, right? Creating a light or like a reason, you know. So all this, it's just interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's just that how when you get to a point where you're able to do more, you're also restricted by more. It's almost like more money, more problems, right? And how the bigger you get, the more you actually have to care for nature-wise, right? So yeah, and it's just, yeah, just through limitation we find expansion, right? And through expansion we can find limitation. But yeah, Bublynn, Sitra, Beach, out.